Video 2, design phases 3, 3A, and 3A1. Welcome back. Thank you again for being with us, Southeastern Quilt and Textile Museum, and myself, your stitching host, Laura Bosma, Pretty Penny Precuts. This is our second segment for the sun and sail. Here's the finished project, and we're going to go on with steps 3, 3A, and 3A1, and here's where we are. So you've got your wool background, preferably on a firm pressing surface. I want you to first decide where's your light coming from. On this particular piece of hand-dyed wool, it seems obvious that the light is coming from the top down. So that's how I'm going to set the fabric. The first piece that I'm going to ask you to set is the boat hull. So hopefully you can see that and see it well. I do want you to keep the waste paper of this particular one. I hope you can see it. It's actually got score lines in it. We're going to use that as a tracing guide type pattern to actually draw those on the hull when it's time to draw in the stripes. So keep the waste paper. If you haven't seen how to remove it, simply roll your thumb across it should begin to peel away from the wool. I hold the wool with one fingernail and index finger and then just kind of peel it away. And again, I'm asking you to retain this particular waste paper because it's got marks that we're going to use as a tracing guide later in our project. So with the boat hull, sailboat hull, come up about 1.5 inches. If you remember seeing the photo, it's also in your complete directions guide. We're going to stitch in some waves under here. So you probably need to be 1.5 inches, 1.25 inches above, and then somewhere between 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 inch away from the side. So there's my sailboat hull. Then you're going to, again, you're removing the waste paper each time. These are like stickers when you do that. They're sticky. Remember, it's temporary stick until we iron it in place. Right now, I'm going to leave it about a little less than 1/2 inch apart, and we'll adjust that as necessary. So I've placed the boat hull, I've placed the sail. Now I'm going to place the pole that attaches, I think it's the mast, from the actual sailboat to the sail. And again, I'm just finger pressing it. I'm just pressing it down hard. Remove the waste paper from the circle, and that's your finial up at the top. You need to overlap it at least 1/8 of an inch so that when we stitch it, you'll at least stitch a little bit this finial to the pole. And then finally, we're going to place the sun. And note, when you received the sun in your kit, it was started out as a square. It's actually 3 pieces. I've removed this inner piece. You can decide if you want to use it or if it is something you use later. And then as well as this, decide if that's something you want to keep for a later project. Note that if you had a little scrap of wool or some cotton to stitch it on, you could place that back in there and stitch that, and you have the idea of a sun, which is kind of cool. So you might want to do something creative with that. So you've placed your motifs, you've retained the waste paper from the boat hull for future use, and then we'll go on to step 3B, where we're going to actually prepare the anchor. It's not something I die cut in this particular project, so you're going to learn how to do it. And by learning how to do a tracing from a drawing and cutting a motif, that should set you up to be able to use any designer's pattern, kit, or project. See you next time.